We've all seen square patch pockets, but why not make your garment really special with heart or rounded bottom pockets? I'll show you how. You're here to learn how to make fun-shaped pockets, and I'm here to deliver. I'm going to walk you through how to make a heart-shaped template for a adorable little pocket. And then I'm going to show you how to sew it up, as well as sew up a rounded bottom pocket. These pockets are perfect for Project Dress-A-Girl, so if you're making a dress for a donation, these add that extra little special touch. Also, a quick note, I've been asked to let you all know that they really appreciate pockets. When dresses are turned in without pockets, Dress-A-Girl around the world actually sews them in themselves. So if you can add pockets, well, I'm Madi, and let's just get to it. To make our heart pocket template, we're going to first need this piece of paper. Now this one is 5 inches wide by 4 inches long. And I'm gonna go ahead and just fold this in half so that way we can draw the actual heart right onto it. My pocket's small because I'm making a 3T, but make this as big as you need it. So I'm gonna put that crease right down there on the side, and I'm gonna grab my fancy little marker, AKA my kid's marker, and I'm gonna draw a heart. Now I like my hearts to be really kind of fat and plump. I find that it just gives you a little bit more space for your belongings, so that's what I'm trying to get right here. There's no need to fret about this. I mean, you can draw this heart as many times as you want until it looks the way you want it to. Now grab your scissors and just go ahead and cut it out. And when you're done, this is what it's gonna look like. You just go ahead and open it up and ta-da! It's a beautiful heart. Now let's grab our fabric. Ta-da! Here's the fabric that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to fold it again because I want 4 hearts here. I want each of my pockets to be lined with a heart, so I'm gonna need 4. So I'm just folding it so that way there's 4 layers of fabric here, and then I'm gonna grab that template and put it right on top. Okay, so now I'm going to weigh this down with pattern weights. In hindsight, I should have pinned this down to make sure that the actual pattern didn't budge from its spot, but that's okay. All right, so now we're going to just remove everything and take a look at our handiwork. Now at this point, I'm going to separate all 4 of the different heart shapes because we're going to need to pin these together right sides facing each other, and you'll see that in a second. Okay, now we have the 4. Go ahead and grab that one, turn it around, and pin your pockets together. Here you can see I'm just trying to line up this center so that way I can get it as precise as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and just pop a few more pins around the edges here. Here I decided that that extra fabric was just going to drive me bonkers, so I went ahead and just trimmed it up and made it all even, and I did that to both pockets. Now you're going to start here and you're going to backstitch, go all the way around, pivot, come back around, pivot, and then backstitch right back here, leaving an opening in the side. And when it's all done, you're gonna see it's sewn up like this. Now I'm gonna grab this one because we need to trim away some of the additional fabric, but look, there's my little opening so that way I can turn this thing inside out. Now grab your scissors and clip right down to the threads, but don't clip through them. We're just going to remove some of the extra fabric here, just getting rid of some of the bulk so that way we can flip this really nicely. Okay, so I got rid of the bulk there, and now I'm going to go ahead and trim this seam allowance right on down. So just cut it in half. You can cut it a little closer if you're brave enough, but you basically just want to get rid of a lot of this additional bulk right here. Now we're done. Let's flip it inside out. Now, I like to take my finger and run it along all of the edges on the inside. It helps these edges just to look really clean. So definitely don't skip this step. Okay, now we're going to tuck this little piece of fabric into the inside nicely. And when we've got that where we want it to be, we're just going to sew that little seam shut right there. Now grab your front dress piece because we're going to place these pockets on. Now you can place them either straight up and down like that. I actually like to angle mine a little bit. I just think it adds a little bit of, I don't know, extra cuteness. When you have the pockets placed where you want them to be, go ahead and grab your pins and pin them into place. No, we don't want these things to budge. When it comes to sewing it, you want to start here, backstitch, so all the way around to this point, come up and then backstitch here. We want to leave a space open for the hand and then do it on the other side. When it's all stitched down, this is what it looks like, and you can see there's space here for hands and special little treasures for the children to put in there. In my last video, I actually told you all that you could use grosgrain ribbon as a tie in the back of dresses, and it was brought to my attention that that's not a good idea because they actually come untied. Apparently grosgrain's not a good option, so please use bias tape, or you can use twill tape, and those would be good options that'll stay tied. Now let's move on to the rounded bottom pocket. Now you can grab this template from Thoughtful Creativity's Dress-A-Girl pattern that she developed. I'll put the link in the description box. You need to print out the pattern, and then you need to add seam allowance. So there's 3/8 around and then 1 inch on top here. Don't forget to add the seam allowance because it really is needed. After you've cut your pocket out of the fabric, I want you to flip it over to the wrong side here. Grab your seam gauge and we're going to fold over the top edge 1/4 inch. And so you can see here that I'm measuring it. I'm going to pop a couple of pins in here, and then when I'm done, we're going to take it over to the ironing board and we're going to press this flat. Now that it's nice and flat, you can see there that it's nicely pressed. We're going to flip it back around to the right side, and now we're going to fold this over by 3/4 inch. So measure out 3/4 inch here, and then we're going to pin this in place, but don't iron it at this point. Just place those pins in here, and then we're going to move on to the next step here shortly. After you've got that pinned in place, you want to go ahead and sew across this side here by 3/8, which is the seam allowance that we had added. So you're going to sew right here across that fold 3/8 inch. Now we've got that sewn together. You can see here the darker stitch lines. We're going to clip these little corners just to remove a little bit of that bulk and make it easier to turn. And then we're going to take this back to the sewing machine and we're going to use a basting stitch, which is our largest stitch, and we're going to sew that 3/8 seam allowance all the way here for a guide. So now that we've got that done, what we need to do is fold into this line and then we're going to press. But first, let me get rid of this pesky little thread. Now we need to flip this top edge right on over. So try to get your corners nice and crisp looking. And so now you can see what it looks like from the right side. So we've got our nice little fold here, and back to the wrong side. We're now going to fold in the seam allowance using that basting stitch as a guide to fold on. Now I'm going to pop in a bunch of pins here to try to keep this in place and be a good role model for you all, but I'll let you know the second one I just went ahead and pressed in place without using any pins, and here it is all nicely pressed. Next you want to sew the top down right along this fold. I sewed my pockets down in the same manner that I did the hearts, but I also went in and I secured the pockets with these little diagonal stitches. And there's a good look at it. It just adds a little bit more support so that the pockets don't actually rip off at the edges when kids shove their belongings inside. So those are two different pockets that you can use to make your garment feel really special. Don't forget to click right over here and check out Rochelle Handmade's designs, because she's walking you through why she chose the colors for her dresses as she did. Be sure to post pictures on Instagram, tag me at Marisos for Curves, and use a hashtag ProjectDressAGirl. I sincerely hope that you find joy and have a wonderful day.